3 weeks into zone 2 running, I nearly quit. My pace was embarrassing. I was getting overtaken by people walking their dogs, and my Garmin kept beeping at me to slow down, slower than I'd run in my entire life. But by week 8, I was running faster at a lower heart rate than I'd ever managed. And the stuff that happened off the road, my sleep, my mood, the 3 p.m. crash, that's what I didn't see coming. Here's exactly what 8 weeks of proper zone 2 running did to a 53-year-old body that spent 20 years doing absolutely nothing. I need to be honest about where I started. I could run. I'd done a marathon by this point, but every run was the same. Go out too fast, suffer through it, drag myself home. My easy runs weren't easy. My heart rate sat in zone 3 and 4 for most of it, and I told myself that was fine because at least I was working hard. It wasn't fine. I finished every run feeling drained, not energized. Recovery took days, and I had this low grade fatigue I just couldn't shake. The kind where you wake up tired, push through the day tired, and go to bed tired. I was what you might call race fit, but life tired. The goal for this experiment was simple: better aerobic base, lower heart rate at the same pace, maybe drop a bit of weight. I thought the results would be physical numbers on a watch, maybe a slightly looser belt. I had no idea the biggest changes would be the ones that I couldn't measure. So, before we get into what happened, let me cut through the noise on zone 2. You've heard it thrown around: MAF, maximum aerobic function, low heart rate training, run slow to run fast. It all sounds either too good to be true or too boring to bother with. Here's the simplest version. Zone 2 is low intensity, roughly 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. But the only definition that matters is the talk test. You should be able to hold a full conversation without gasping. You can talk, but you couldn't sing. If you can get a sentence out, you're going too hard. If you're belting out the chorus, you're going too easy. For this experiment, I used a heart rate monitor to keep myself honest. The 220 minus your age formula, that's a rough guess for me. It was off by nearly 10 beats. I used it as a starting point, then let the talk test be the real guide. My plan: 3 zone 2 sessions a week, 45 to 60 minutes each, mostly easy runs, some cross training on wet days. The key was showing up and staying in the zone, which is week 1 felt absurdly, almost laughably slow. I had to fight every instinct to speed up. I kept reminding myself the goal isn't to feel wrecked, it's to train something specific. Right, the obvious stuff first. Did running slow for 8 weeks actually make me faster? Yes, and the data proves it. Week 1, keeping my heart rate at 135 BPM meant I was shuffling along at a pace I'm almost too embarrassed to write down. My brain was screaming. That couldn't possibly be working. It felt unproductive. It felt like I was getting worse. Week 4, something shifted. Same 135 BPM, but my pace had crept up. Not dramatically, but measurably. My body was starting to adapt. Week 8, the change was significant. I was running faster at 135 BPM than I'd ever managed at that effort level. My body had gone more efficient. Same engine, less fuel. Resting heart rate dropped about 5 beats. Recovery between sessions improved massively. I wasn't carrying fatigue from one run into the next. And the fat loss, modest, a couple of pounds, maybe look slightly leaner, nothing dramatic. This is the bit people get wrong about zone 2. It teaches your body to use fat for fuel, but the rate of calorie burn per minute isn't massive. The change was there, but it was subtle. If I'd stopped here, I'd say zone 2 is a decent way to build endurance, just slow and boring. But the real story hadn't started yet. Here's what I want to know from you. Pause the video for a second. Have you ever tried zone 2 training? And did you stick with it? Or did the boredom kill it before you saw the results? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. and I'm genuinely curious how far people get before they either trust the process or bin it off. This is the part that genuinely surprised me. The stuff that happened when I wasn't running. First, my sleep. I used to be a terrible sleeper. Fall asleep, fine. Wake up 2 or 3 times for no reason. Drag myself out of bed feeling like I'd been hit by a bus. About 3 weeks into this experiment, I started sleeping through the entire night. A week after that, I woke up before my alarm and felt rested, actually rested. It was such a strange sensation. It caught me off guard. It was like the low level stress humming in my body had finally been turned down. Second, my mood. I've always been tightly wound up, quick to snap at small things, especially when I'm tired. Halfway through the challenge, I noticed I had more room to handle things: traffic jams, work stress, the usual rubbish. It just didn't hit the same way. I wasn't less bothered, I was more resilient. Training my heart seemed to be also be training my nervous system. And the biggest one, the 3 p.m. crash, disappeared. For years, 3 p.m. was my enemy. I'd hit a wall of fatigue that only a strong coffee could punch through. Around a week 6, I was deep in work, looked at the clock, and it was nearly 5 p.m. I hadn't even thought about coffee. The urge was just gone. This wasn't a wired, caffeinated buzz. It was a steady, stable energy that lasted all day. My entire baseline had shifted. So, what's actually happening here? The theory, and it's worth saying this is still debated, is zone 2 improves your mitochondria, the tiny power plants in your cells. You're essentially building more of them and making them more efficient, which helps your body eat better at producing energy from fat. That's what creates that steady all day energy rather than the spike and crash of higher intensity work. But let's be real, zone 2 isn't magic. Some recent research suggests higher intensity training might be just as effective or even better for some of these adaptations, especially if you're short on time. The science points towards a mix, lots of low intensity, a little high intensity as the sweet spot for most runners. And there are downsides nobody warns you about. The biggest one is it's boring, generally deeply boring. Forcing yourself to run slow when every instinct says push harder. It's mentally draining in a very hard running, isn't it? It feels unproductive. It feels too easy. You have to learn to trust a process that gives you nothing in the moment. It's also surprisingly difficult to stay in the zone as you warm up. Your heart rate naturally drifts and you're constantly dialing it back. On a hot day or a hilly route, forget it. You'll be walking sections you normally run just to keep your heart rate down. That takes a kind of discipline. That's different from grinding through the pain. So, after 8 weeks, was it worth it? Honestly, yes, but not for the reasons I expected. The endurance gains were nice, but they felt like a side effect. The real win was the sleep, the mood, the steady energy, the stuff that made every other part of my day better, not just my running. If you're a runner over 40 who's been smashing every session at threshold, and wondering why you feel permanently exhausted, try 8 weeks of proper zone 2, not as your only running, but as the foundation. 3 sessions a week. Stay in the zone. Trust the boredom. If this has resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm documenting the full journey from parkrun to sub 4 marathon, and I'd love to have you along for it. What's the one thing that puts you off trying zone 2 training? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.